I would have tried to pull out a pumpkin, but they're not in season, and any of the ones that I have in the garage right now are buried. Those would be fake pumpkins, not real ones. And I also don't have anything that just looks like a giant piece of rock, or I would have brought that over too. That by the other Digimon, because this video is going to be about Gotsumon and Pumpkinmon. Um, this one's probably going to be slightly shorter because we don't know that much about them, but they're still kind of interesting to talk about. Okay, so Gotsumon and Pumpkinmon, I've been over these ones in Matt and TK's videos. Gotsumon is this rock-looking Digimon. I know I said Pokemon, but this rock-looking Digimon that in the case of this specific one likes to cause trouble, and then his friend is Pumpkinmon. Kind of looks like a ghost outfit with like a pumpkin for a head and an axe on top inside the pumpkin. That's not disturbing. With like a jack-o'-lantern carved face. They're kind of cute. So the way that it worked was Gotsumon and Pumpkinmon were originally part of Myotismon's army. They were his minions, and they were dispatched out to try to find the eighth child while in the real world. They traveled with Myotismon to the real world. I do not know if they ever state whether or not these two were kind of recruited by either Gotsumon or Demi-Vimon. Given the fact that they seem to more just want to cause trouble, I would say they probably more fall under the Demi-Vimon category, because Gotsumon's different suggestions and recruits were quite a bit more competent for the most part. But what happens is they're sent out to go and try to find the eighth child. They have like these, fake crests that they're supposed to run around with and try to find, if it activates around children, and then if so, which child. They end up running around Shibuya and causing a lot of problems. Yeah. They're enthralled by all of this new culture around them and everything. And, all these people and everything, they start causing trouble, like jumping on top of cars or on top of street lights and making them mess up. Just like all this stuff. And they end up coming across Matt and TK and Gabumon, and Patamon kind of flew off on his own because him and TK had a fight, and they're out trying to find Patamon because, as I said, him and TK had an argument. But they come, Matt and TK and Gabumon come across Gotsumon and Pumpkinmon, and they ended up actually, they ended up the two of them kind of ended up running into like a teenage girl that looks kind of like a punk teenage girl, and they pull on her nose ring, and then she starts running after them because she got very angry at them, and I don't blame her. And then Matt like protected the Digimon and said they went that way, like something the opposite direction, and she ran off. And then, of course, Matt and Gabumon and TK end up, talking to Gotsumon and Pumpkinmon, and they're like, well, we're just here because we want to have fun and everything. And, they keep carrying on with their mischief, and throughout this course, they end up in, like, this department store window, and, like, they try on these different clothes, and then, like, Matt and TK and Gabumon make their way in there as well, and they're just like, you can't do this, and you're not supposed to act this way, you can't do this. And then they just like dress them up in like fun clothes too. And then they run off. And like they're just looking at each other like, why is this happening? I don't know. Can we find Patamon now? Sure. But they run off. And they keep chasing them. And then Myotismon shows up and ends up, gets very angry at them. And he tells them, okay, go and attack the Digidestin. Gotsumon and Pumpkinmon do not want to do this because Matt and TK and Gabumon are now their friends. And what ends up happening, of course, is, they start running after them. And, they try to attack them, and then they decide that they don't want to do that. So what ends up happening is they actually try to attack Myotismon. They, like Gotsumon throws rocks at him, and Pumpkinmon makes this giant pumpkin appear on top of him. Myotismon literally just has like his bats come out and like eat the pumpkin. Yeah, unfortunately that doesn't go very well. Gotsumon and Pumpkinmon then basically just get killed, or in the case of the English dub, condemned to his dungeon in the digital world, because he sends out his grizzly wing attack and it kills them. Unfortunately. Obviously, these are not the first Digimon that we've seen die in the series, or at least I don't think so. But I think they are the first Digimon that we see die in the real world in the digital in Digimon. Yeah, it wouldn't have been the first time that we've seen a Digimon die because Patamon. But we see, and it's never confirmed whether or not Gotsumon and Pumpkinmon come back. It's just never shown because they could have come back by the logic of what they show with the Digimon movie in regards to Willis and Kokomon. Kokomon got destroyed in the real world, and the egg still came back to him. Still got reborn because the data was still there. So unless the data is completely and utterly destroyed, it can still come back. So I would assume that maybe Gotsumon and Pumpkinmon do end up getting reborn at Primary Village, and they end up, getting all the way back up to those forms. Maybe they still remember TK and Matt. Maybe they don't. Patamon showed up at this point in time too, and he, shows up and tries to help fight Myotismon, of course. We don't see them again, but later on the episode where they have like the Digimon have their anniversary, where the Digi doesn't have like the anniversary, like 3-year anniversary of when they defeated Myotismon, Matt and TK end up kind of walking around, and they end up, kind of reminiscing, and like they kind of see like a vestige of them in like the store window. And TK's like, I really, Matt comments, I really miss those two. I really miss those guys because like they had fun with them. Like they had like at one point like they grabbed ice cream and like tried to give it to like Gabumon, and like they were just trying to have fun. I mean, like they were these Digimon that was like they didn't really want to hurt humans. They didn't want to hurt people. They didn't want to kill them. They didn't want to enslave them. They were just enticed by this new world that they'd never seen before, and they wanted to, see everything that this world had to offer, taste the food, explore. Because like the digital world is one thing, and like to us the digital world seems amazing, but to Digimon, to a degree, particularly ones that have like traveled all over it, it's not that entertaining anymore, unless new things pop up. But if you're in the real world, it's very different, and you get these humans to interact with instead of Digimon. So we get this, like this kind of culture shock type of thing. The Digidestin had it when they went to the digital world with these two, so we see it there. We do see a Gotsumon later on as a partner Digimon to a Digidestin named Rosa, who's in Mexico, who I've mentioned in Matt's video, and I'll mention, depending on how this syncs up with stuff, I'll talk about in like Ken's video as well. And I'll also talk about Rosa and her Gotsumon in the when I talk about like the miscellaneous Digidestin from the Digimon World Tour. But I don't think that that's the same Gotsumon, because if it was, it interacted with Matt again, and it would have remembered Matt if it was the same Gotsumon. So I don't think that it was. As far as I'm aware, we don't see any other Pumpkinmon. But there's not too much else there. We do see like a group of like Gotsumon later on at some point. Not too much else. They were, I think if I remember correctly, Gotsumon and Pumpkinmon were like rookie level Digimon, if I remember correctly. So they're not extremely strong, but they're not, depending on who they're fighting, they're fine. But going up against Myotismon was not the brightest idea, because he just like one attack and they're gone. And then TK and Matt with Gabumon and Patamon as Anjumon, and Gabumon as Weregurumon try to fight Myotismon to get revenge for him. And I think like whatever happened, like TK and Patamon are not arguing about that anymore. I don't remember what the argument was specifically about, but Myotismon was not happy about the two Digimon slacking off, and tells them to attack the two brothers. And they did kind of comply, but then like it was like, okay, we don't want to do this anymore. We don't want to hurt you guys. You guys are our friends. They said Myotismon doesn't like people that betray him. He killed Wizardmon. He was gonna kill Gatomon. He doesn't like people betraying him. So that's just kind of a lesson of don't betray him. but he's a jerk. So yeah. Yeah, I do feel sorry for Gotsumon and Pumpkinmon. They just wanted to like have adventures and stuff. And had they found like their own Digi-Destined, then that would have been very nice for them. They would have been able to like have their own adventures with their own partners. Get to explore the real world and such, which I think would have been very nice for the two of them had that happened. And they may have ended up getting reincarnated at some point, and maybe they ended up, for all intents and purposes, for all we know, maybe they did end up having Digimon partners later on, because we know steadily throughout the course of the Digimon timeline, starts off with like Tai and his group, and then it moves on, like starts to include like other Digi-Destined around the world that were chosen based on their interactions with like the Digimon that started to appear around the world when the digital world appeared in the sky. And then of course it steadily increases to more and more and more Digi-Destined as time goes on, and as more people have more interactions with Digimon. So that is quite possible. Headcanon, I like to think that, oh yeah, they were reborn at Primary Village, and they got hatched there, and they grew up again, and like they maybe still found each other and were friends again, and like maybe at some point, at some random other time when like Matt and TK were in the digital world, like in between one of the other various points in time. They see them again and like, oh hi, it's you guys again, or like they interact with another Digi-Destined, and it's just like, hey, like this Gotsumon is like, hey, you look familiar, type thing, or this Pumpkinmon, hey, why do you look familiar, type thing, like they remember them. So that's what we have for them. As I said, it's not a very long video for this one because there's not a lot to talk about for Gotsumon and Pumpkinmon. They're cute. I wouldn't have minded having a Gotsumon. If I remember correctly, they Digivolve into Monochromon, which is kind of this Triceratops looking Digimon, which is Triceratops / Rhino looking Digimon, which is kind of cool looking. But I don't remember what Pumpkinmon evolves into, although I think it might be one of the Digimon that can Digivolve into Wizardmon, but I could be wrong about that because Digimon and logic don't always quite fix with like, oh, this can turn into that. The cat turned into an angel, okay? It's like Agumon into like a giant dinosaur dragon thing. Okay, I can kind of get that. Gabumon sticks with the wolf thing all the way through. Gomamon, yeah, sure. Palmon sticks with the plant thing. Garudamon, Biyomon sticks with the bird thing. But then Godamon turns into an angel and then turns into a dragon. So there's a difference there. Like Patamon turns into like this pig thing that then turns into an angel that then turns into a different angel that then turns into another angel, or Digivolves into Digiarmor Digivolves into a Pegasus. So, I don't remember what Pumpkinmon can turn into, but again, I might do another video about some of those Digivolutions that I just like. This into this I always find weird, but fine, I'll buy it. So that's what we have here. So I thank you very much for watching. The next one will be about Wizardmon. And that one will be probably a bit of a longer one just because of, like the emotional impact that like Wizardmon had on us and had on Kari and the rest of the Digi-Destined and such. Not that any of the Digimon dying can be taken lightly, because it still hurts because you're still watching something die that was your friend. Even if it wasn't, even if it wasn't for very long. But yeah, next up will be Wizardmon, and then I think I have Black War Greymon set for after that, and then I think I was gonna do Genii. But like the Wizardmon and the Black War Greymon are gonna be on the longer side just because we learn more about them, or we see them a little bit longer. So that's what we have there for Gotsumon and Pumpkinmon. So I thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye!
I think you knocked over a monster. Even worse, I think I knocked over a teenager.